For people that are mouth breathing at night, their heart rate's going up, their blood pressure's going up, they're more likely to have poor circulation. People think snoring's normal, and it's not. There's people choking literally to death in their sleep. They've got a shorter lifespan. And it was the experience of putting over 10,000 people through cold therapy that people connected with. Breathwork and cold therapy are very tangible. You can feel them in your own body.
Hello, beautiful questers, and a warm welcome to the OneQuest podcast. We are absolutely delighted to have you with us on this journey of learning and self-discovery.
Our guests are not just mentors in wellness and self-improvement, they are adventurers at heart, sharing their unique paths and life lessons.
If you enjoy our show, please subscribe and share. Your support enables us to feature more amazing guests and deliver impactful conversations. Please note that some episodes may cover sensitive topics like abuse, mental health struggles, and personal challenges.
Welcome everyone to our Infinite Potential podcast. Today we have Deano Gladstone with us, and we're going to dive into some of his amazing stories, the things he's doing with his clients and with his corporate partners and things like that. A little bit of Dean's background. He is a Bondi Lifeguard, personal trainer, and founder of Power of the Breath, dedicated to helping people manage stress for better health and performance. With over 22 years of coaching experience, he specializes in breathwork, cold therapy, movement, and holistic health. Through globally recognized workshops, Dean has taught thousands how to harness the power of breath for resilience and recovery. His journey from overcoming personal health challenges to studying with world leaders in wellness has shaped his mission, which is empowering people to tune into their bodies, improve performance, and live with greater vitality. How does that sound, buddy?
It sounds pretty good. It sounds like, I think that's what my girlfriend wrote on my website. So quick hello to Katie for fixing up my stuff. The written word has never been my strength. But yeah, nice. I've actually feel it's a little bit too much. So I really just try and condense what I do to educating people about stress. And if they can understand stress, they can improve health and performance.
Yep. And a little bit of background. I remember from a very young age, we used to swim in the same pool or down at the beach competing in surf life-saving events. And you and I have crossed paths for many, many years in that sporting arena. And I'd just love to hear a little bit about your background and how you eventually found yourself moving more into the wellness space and helping others.
Yeah, we literally, knew each other from young kids, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Which is wild as you start to get a little bit older. It's a long time ago. We ended up sort of swimming for sport as kids. That was our chosen sport. And the swimming, I developed asthma, I think maybe when I was 9 or 10, and I was hospitalized with this asthma. And it got really nasty. And so the swimming, when I kept swimming, my asthma seemed to keep at bay, and it kept me really fit and healthy. And when I stopped swimming, I started to get problems with my breathing, and I'd end up getting sick. So I had this connection with breath and from a young age, and this belief that I had to swim to be healthy. Because when I wasn't swimming, I wasn't able to sort of run around the block. When I was swimming, I'd go close to winning the cross country at school. So it was really, really, really night and day. And this sort of belief system that I got to keep swimming because, I can't do anything else sort of kept me swimming, which was really good for me. It probably kept me out of trouble as a kid. And, I competed all around Australia. I made lots of friends up and down the coast, and had such a great time and experience competing in a whole different range of sports. Surf life saving is probably one where we competed together. That's the sort of basis of it. The swimming led me to discovering yoga, and the regulated nasal breathing of yoga really changed my thought process. Like, I was able to achieve more by doing less.
And was that at a particular age where you were introduced to yoga, or did you stumble across it? Did someone drag you there kicking and screaming?
Yeah, I was pretty tight. I could barely bend over and touch my knees, let alone get towards my toes. So I started doing yoga for mobility.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, lo and behold, this sort of regulated nasal breathing, I felt calmer and clearer. And it really started to, open up sort of these possibilities. And yeah, it was doing a lot for me, and I couldn't quite fully understand it.
There's so many different types of breathing in yoga, which I always find so fascinating. You've got a lot of those sort of really energized breaths, like your breath of fire, and the sort of more Nadi Shodanan, and one I've been working on lately, like a Sudarshan chakra kriya, which is where you're pumping your belly when you're holding your breath. They're so powerful. Is there something that specifically really resonated with you? Is there a sort of a breath that really kind of swept you up?
I believe initially that I was doing a fair bit of mouth breathing.
Yeah,
And
right.
so I think the regulated nasal breathing in yoga started to train me to basically just breathe through my nose more and just have some sort of awareness of my breath. And then as I was sort of lifeguarding, I was starting to sort of piece together breathing and stress and maintaining a cool, calm collection when you're dealing with literally life and death situations. So, yeah, I was gently trying to sort of piece it all together, but it was a quite simple regulation of my breath through nasal breathing, which was very powerful.
And on the nasal breathing topic, I noticed you're selling mouth tape of some sort. That's something that you promote to your students and the people who you do work with, that they look at using mouth tape?
Well, if they need it, Steve, I don't want to sell people things that they don't want.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I never really thought I'd be into selling anything. But
Yeah.
for people that are mouth breathing at night by taping your mouth shut, it was such a huge game changer in my life. And then, in the last couple of years, sleep apnea is really, there's a lot of awareness around it. And these problems can be snoring. People sort of think snoring's normal. And it's not. There's people choking literally to death in their sleep. These people aren't going to
Yeah.
live. They've got a shorter lifespan.
Mm.
Their heart rate's going up. Their blood pressure's going up. They're more likely to have poor circulation and a whole range of issues. Potentially erectile dysfunction. Like, everything's connected to our breathing and circulation, and people really just aren't piecing it together. And there's lots of potential reasons why,
Yeah.
but the breath affects everything.
Yeah, there's a great book I read. I don't know if you've got another recommendation. It was called Breathe, and it really dives into everything about their little tests, their way that they test the mouth breathing for, I think it was 30 days, and then they go and test the nasal breathing for 30 days and things like that, and just compare the differences. It was quite obvious to me, the benefits for nasal breathing. So I started doing it because I snore, but anyway, I'm sure there's plenty of other
So
benefits from it.
how did the taping go for you?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Do you
Yeah.
still tape? But some people are able to correct their breathing.
Yep.
In sort of the product that I sell, Myotape comes in a packet of 90, and sort of they're looking at sort of, that 3 to 4 months to create a new habit.
Yeah,
And
right.
some people can just sort of correct it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm still wearing the
Yeah,
tape
same.
5, 6, 8 years later.
Yeah.
But I can tell when I've been mouth breathing at night, and I just wake up and I feel like shit.
Yeah.
So it's the awareness is there for me now. So it's interesting, but I can't quite pinpoint it. It's not there's multiple parts to the puzzle: diet, nutrition, sleeping position,
Yeah.
even tongue position is another big one.
Mm.
The breathing's only one component, and breathing retraining, which is another thing I'm really passionate about.
So how does breathing retraining work? Is that, so this is separate to night breathing through your mouth? So this is more training during the day so that you have more awareness of the breath, or just so that you're nasal breathing?
But all of the above.
Okay.
The way you breathe during the day will affect the way you breathe at night, and breathing's a skill. It is part of our autonomic nervous system, so it will happen automatically. But also, it's trainable. We can breathe consciously, and the way we get better at something is, and you might guess this, we practice it. So just understanding a couple of key parameters and practicing for as little as 5 minutes a day, I see results in people. Obviously, if people are a little bit more serious about it, doing more. At night's a funny one though, Catherine. So yeah, the mouth taping at night is really supportive because we just don't have that awareness. Like I can be aware of my breathing all day, and my mouth will literally just drop open some night. And so I've done all this good work in the day, and if I mouth breathe at night, my heart rate increases. I get less deep sleep. My blood pressure would go up.
Wow.
I'm more likely to get sick. I just wake up, and you're less likely to make good choices, less likely to exercise. There's a huge flow-on effect.
It's amazing.
But it's not the one night. It's the weeks, months, and years where this stuff really starts to add up. We take about 20 to 25,000 breaths a day. So you're looking at over 100,000 breaths a week. And, if each breath is that little bit better.
So true.
Yeah, it's the cumulative total.
And so going back to your yoga discovery, where did you move to next? Like you got some better mobility. Did you then move into more yoga training to become an instructor? Where was your next step on the wellness path for you?
Yeah, when I was working as a lifeguard, and I think I was working with you around this time, I was interested in fitness. So I was doing a little bit of personal training work. And then in 2005 or 2006, I got king hit and had my 4 front teeth knocked out. So after that, there was some sort of dark moments where I suffered with depression, anxiety, this post-traumatic stress. I scratched myself till I bled. So I had these dermatitis and allergies and had a whole range of problems that I never really knew much about or thought that was real. So then I become interested in holistic wellness. I ended up with a guy that had been trained by Paul Chek. I don't know if you've heard of Paul in your travels. Yep. He's a Californian holistic health guru, but also a sort of strength and conditioning fitness guy. And Paul was training these elite athletes and giving them the best programs. And some of these elite athletes were just doing fantastic things, and then others were just not achieving anything at all. And he started to work out that if they weren't eating right, if they weren't drinking right, chewing their food, filtered water, getting sunlight, these holistic practices would support the success that they would have on their strength and conditioning or performance-based. I got right into his holistic lifestyle coaching, and it was mind-blowing for me. Yeah. I grew up thinking blueberry muffins and margarine were healthy, and when I started reading about grass-fed animals and ruminant animals and realizing how much sugar a bottle of tomato sauce had in it, I was just blown away. It was really wild. So there was a huge transformation in what I was eating.
They're big changes though when you start to filter those into your life, just your daily life. It's so those little 1% changes that you make each day, isn't it? That cumulative effect of what that does.
There's lots of 1%ers in there. I think list about 50.
Yeah, huge changes. That must have made you feel very different when you started implementing some of those.
I sort of got worse before I got better. It was quite overwhelming. And then, challenging belief systems, you're brought up to believe different things. I had issues. The medical system wasn't able to support me. Doctors were just trying to medicate me. And I started to realize these people actually, in my opinion, weren't trying to help me. They were just trying to sell me shit that I didn't need. And unfortunately, the longer I spend in the health and wellness industry, the more common this is. And it's sad. And, people think I'm having a crack at doctors, but it's, the doctors just aren't educated in this way. And sometimes they're actually formally miseducated not to know this stuff. And, it's, sickness and disease seems to be getting worse and worse. And, doctors are brilliant. They do some fantastic things. But when I had the assault and injury, I was really grateful to the doctors that night. But we got to a stage in my long-term health that the medical industry, and it is an industry, was not supporting me. So I sort of moved aside from that. And the more I learnt, the healthier I become, and I haven't been back to a doctor since, really.
Yeah, that's so good. So you went off and did a little bit of time with Wim Hof to deepen your breath work. Is that correct?
Yeah. I was at Wim's house in 2018. Before he was sort of got big, before he got huge. I was already teaching yoga at this stage. And I had a career break from lifeguarding. I was having some issues with the way the service was run, and it was causing me some stress and anxiety. And I knew, intuitively it wasn't good for me. So, I took about 15 months off, and I sort of wanted to challenge myself and think, what's the hardest thing I could do? And I ended up climbing a mountain in my board shorts or lifeguard cozies with Wim Hof.
Yeah.
Wow.
And having that experience before he got big, do you think that would have been different to what it is now? Do you think it might have changed a bit, and you had that little window to really have a different experience to what it might be?
The way the organisation is run, sort of, I guess, like big organisations do get, they get focused on profit over people. And, I was already teaching yoga, and I was already doing cold therapy and already teaching people to breathe, not quite like Wim. And they were sort of going, oh, yeah, you learned that with us. And I was like, oh, no, I didn't. I've been doing this for a while. It was interesting. They were trying to, credit themselves for everything.
Yeah.
But that's not Wim. Which is really, because Wim's very humble and a beautiful man. But yeah, the organisation was a little bit difficult to deal with. But yeah, I stayed involved for quite a number of years, and then eventually sort of had to part ways.
So how did you find those experiences with him? I know he gets pretty immersed in some of those ice experiences, and there's like long stints in the ice, not just 3 minutes, which a lot of people do when they go to the gym or sort of go and have a trial of it. He could do some really extended practices. What was that like to step into? Had you done something that was sort of that long in the past?
Well, yeah, I'd competed at high levels and done, long distance events. But yeah, walking up a mountain, which was -20 at the top in sort of minimal clothing, was a very different prospect. And for me, I actually used to struggle with the cold. I used to be quite fearful of the cold. That's what sort of drove me to it. I had this poor circulation, and potentially, I mentioned that earlier with breathing affecting circulation. So I was quite interested in Wim's ability to change his circulation with literally his mind. So that was one of the things that attracted me to it. But yes, that was a big challenge.
Yeah, it's fascinating what he can do. Like his capability of being able to shift and change his temperature, even like
I warmed my hands up on Wim's back climbing the mountain.
I'm not
me
surprised.
And the girls were just warming our hands up on Wim's back because he just lit it up like a Christmas tree. It was absolutely amazing.
It's incredible when you start doing regular ice baths, what a difference it can make in your hands and your feet. My son's a dancer, and he ices his legs every night. And like he said, he used to have really cold feet, and not anymore, and his hands, because they're always in the ice. So it's incredible what a difference it can make, even when you're only just putting a part of your body in, not even doing a full immersion. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, it is amazing, and you get some systemic effects from just part cold bathing. There's a whole range of science behind it, so it's really, really interesting.
One thing I saw just recently, and feel free to skip on this one, was a lady was talking about how cold therapy, putting the body into a stress state, has better impact on people who are not as healthy and fit as compared to those who have a regular program of exercise, putting their body under a stress state, and then thinking that they should ice bath every day for the health benefits. She was suggesting that it doesn't give you the same effect. If you're healthy and regularly
I
exercising?
think I saw this snippet, Steve, and
Yeah.
to me it didn't make sense what she was saying. She's like, "Oh, you get less good results from not ice bathing every day," and it's like,
Hmm.
but you still get good results from ice bathing every
Yeah.
day. And she's really not mentioning duration or temperature or
Hmm.
frequency, really.
Yeah.
She did to touch on sort of 3 to 4 sessions per week. But yeah, there's a whole other range of things to take into account
Yeah.
which is sort of not in the conversation
Yeah.
there. So it sort of depends. There are people doing too much. It's
Yeah.
really simple to say.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah.
cold therapy is really powerful. And there's people exercising wrongly and people eating poorly. Like
Yeah.
it's not a surprise that people are
Yeah.
doing it incorrectly.
Yeah.
That there is a lot of information on the internet, and it can be really confusing as well for
Mm.
people sometimes.
Yeah.
But generally, there's this ego for particularly males, but some humans that want to push, and more is certainly not always better, particularly with
Mm.
ice bathing.
I heard that there's like a 11-minute a week to aim for is kind of a good
Yeah, so that was Dr.
goal.
Susanna Soberg's research, and again, she's
Yeah.
not talking about temperature in there.
No, exactly. So I
It's
didn't know if there
it was
was
quite
a
vague, and the study was very small.
okay.
There's a brilliant guy called Dr. Thomas Seeger.
Okay.
He's my favourite in the industry. He invented the Morozko Forge, and if on his website, there's some fantastic science and some fantastic research. But he's doing all the research. He's in there doing it. And he's quite capable, and he's been through a whole range of sort of fantastic. So his research is what he's my go-to on the research guy. I've seen some footage of Dr. Soberg in the cold therapy, and this happens with scientists and other these specialized people that call themselves experts. In some cases, they're unable to do it themselves. I saw Dr. Soberg in the cold, and she was it looked terrible. It was embarrassing because I train people to tolerate the cold better than what she was doing. So I was like, and who knows? It's really really tough to sort of pick that from seeing one piece. But some of these people, some of these so-called experts in the industry aren't really they're just sort of jumping on the bandwagon sometimes.
Yeah. And so you're doing cold therapy training. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. When we first started teaching, or when I first started teaching Wim Hof or ice baths in 2018, it was quite specialized, and people would come and do a 3-hour workshop and had all this time to work with people. And then for multiple reasons, like it was changing people's lives, and this was before all the fancy science. And people just started doing it. And it's like, oh, yeah. And everyone was a Wim Hof instructor. And of course, they weren't official, but they all Wim stuff is a lot easy access on YouTube, and he puts stuff for free. So everyone was out there teaching breathwork. And it was a little bit rogue and a little bit lacking safety. But generally, these things are mainly safe. There are some populations at risk, but and we just saw it get a little bit wild and a little bit loose, and people trying to do 10-minute ice baths, and people with contraindications getting in there. So I put together, an instructor course for people to teach cold therapy, and I didn't know if people would sort of come and do it. And there was a couple of jokes like, "What do you learn? How to put ice in an ice bath?" And ultimately the people just sort of kept coming. And it was the experience of putting over 10,000 people through cold therapy that really, people connected with. As I said, there's sort of scientists out there lecturing from studies that they've read, but they haven't actually participated in it, or don't understand how to teach it, or the nuances to it. And it's really interesting, sort of, people going, oh, 250% dopamine this, and before that, there was people just ice bathing and getting out and feeling amazing. And that's what we knew anecdotally. People knew it. They got out, and it's tangible. Breathwork and cold therapy are very tangible. You can feel them in your own body. And they would get out and feel amazing, and they would want to do it. So yeah, that was our specialty, facilitating a great experience, not getting people to understand the science and or suffer through it. Because it's the trick is to relax into it. That's where the benefits come. Um, and again, using the breath is one of the key ways to do that.
I think I'm permanently scarred from Heffron Park, Heffron Pool, outdoor 50-meter pool from winter. And I, similar to your story, I didn't like the cold, and I really did not enjoy getting in the ocean, cold water, whatever. But I finally did my first ice bath at a retreat, and that was great. But I've totally shifted away from this whole fear mindset to being more enjoying and appreciating the experience. So it's great. Where do you teach your cold therapy instructor courses?
Yeah, so I'm here, there, and everywhere. I've got little bits and pieces all over the place. It's the work comes and goes. The course is online, which is a real great way to connect with people, especially in rural places.
Yeah.
The most important content is theory. So again, just educating people so they can educate the people that they're working with and give them some key takeaways, and the safety. We really pride ourselves on the safety, and there's some bio-individuality where we've got to sort of tailor it and modify it. So it's just educating coaches to actually coach people, and that's what a good coach needs to do. So yeah, we just empower the coaches and we put them in charge, and we set some guidelines, and get them to if it's yellow and it's quacking and it looks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So if someone doesn't look well, that's when the coach is like, get out of the ice bath. And it sounds really simple, and there's certainly much more depth to that than the course and safety itself. But ultimately, people were pushing 10-minute ice baths and harming people and scarring them physically and mentally, and not teaching them how to breathe properly, or even understanding the nervous system or our physiology and our vascular system. And it's a little bit of education goes a long way.
So how does getting in the ice, how does that help with your nervous system regulation? What have you found by sort of getting into the ice regularly? How has that helped you with your sort of stress response? Because I know that's sort of like a good stress, really, because you're teaching your body how to, be more symbiotic between that rest and digest and that sort of more stress response. So do you see that that's made an impact in your life by using the ice for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess all those changes were a long time ago. For me now, I like to jump in every day for about a minute. I don't put any pressure on myself, but I do like to get in every day. And sometimes it's 30 seconds and sometimes I stay in a little bit longer. And that tangible feeling afterwards I get is amazing. Like my circulation, I can just feel it. At the moment, I play touch footy with a bunch of guys, and they want to do this world record beach touch football game, and they want to play for 34 hours. And so I've been roped into this, and they're lovely guys.
That sounds silly.
Not anyway. I'm in it, but I've really noticed. Like focusing with the cold therapy on my recovery, and it just gets the circulation flowing. So the cold gets vasoconstriction. So those blood vessels close, and then when you warm up, they open it back up. So the biggest killer in the world today is heart disease. So essentially we're training that circulatory system with a bit of vasoconstriction and vasodilation. And if we can complement that by breathing better, we get that sort of decrease in that blood pressure, and our heart rate drops, and our whole body can become more efficient.
Yeah, I love that. I know there's all the other fabulous benefits, like helps you with weight loss. And I find that getting into the cold, like it's such an exercise in mindfulness, because you can't be anywhere else but right there. Like everything else is gone because you're 100% focused on that. So even sort of as a meditation practice, the benefits, it's just wild. It never ceases to amaze me.
That different people get out of it. You're just doing the hard things. It's become quite popular. Um, there's this element of we're surrounded by creature comforts now. For some people, they're struggling to work out what to eat for breakfast in the morning, which cereal to have. And obviously, they shouldn't be having any cereal. But this is what's happened to society, whereas our ancestors never had these problems. So yeah, it's a whole range of diseases that are preventable.
And the industry for breathwork and ice baths, ice therapy, it seems like it's not really regulated. And this is from an external position looking in. With accredited bodies or accredited training, you're doing a training program, and that comes with a lot of years of experience. But is there any formal association, industry bodies, global bodies where people are actually starting to regulate this so that we have less issues with people learning incorrect techniques?
Yeah, so with the course that I set up, and it was the first of its kind in Australia, there's a global body, the International Practitioners of Holistic Medicine, that certify the course.
Yeah.
And then so when people train with me, they're able to get insurance generally, unless they've done something dodgy in the past. But I haven't had any of them so far. There was a guy in Argentina that was struggling a little bit. I haven't heard back from him. So I've had over 200 people do the course, and as far as I know, everyone's been able to gain insurance. So they're accredited, they're insured, that they're qualified, and then they've got a community of coaches to support them as well. So it goes a long way towards, I guess, a step in the right direction for professionalism.
Yeah, and I think it's just really important. As you said, safety is one of the biggest messages, is for people wanting to learn this and step into it. Doing it with the right people will hopefully have the better outcome, better experience, and then you get the benefits of that rather than just doing it poorly. So it's probably a good note to any listeners, just check who you're doing it with. And
yeah, well, the
see what their
recovery
experience is
centres, there's some good and bad. And we hear some horror stories. There was we trained some new coaches. It might have been last year, and the next day, like we did the course on a Sunday. They were like, we're in a gym, and this old guy went into the ice bath, and he hired the ice bath for half an hour. And so he'd been in there for 15 minutes, and they could see him, and he looked a bit grey. And so that they went in to speak to him, and they're like, "Oh, mate, are you all right?" He goes, "Yeah, I've paid for half an hour." So he was going to do a 30-minute ice bath.
Wow.
So it's just a little bit not
dangerous.
good. Yeah, dangerous.
Yeah.
So again, it's the education. Some of the recovery centers great. There's a whole range of information. There's really, really helpful people, and then there's some wild scenes and some people screaming and some macho bullshit in other places. But it was sort of just trying to do what we can do and educate the people that are interested. It's really difficult to get the ones that don't want to listen.
And just being in that lifeguard role and being down on the beach, there's no shortage of seeing people do stupid things, is there? Like, you've had a very long, healthy career of seeing people do stupid things, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's and I certainly have been reckless myself a lot at the times, and I enjoy some sort of risk. Without risk, there would be nothing in life. But it's this educated risk where where there's a risk reward ratio at sort of 15 to 30 minutes in an ice bath on your first time. We're starting to get right down into the dangerous scenes.
And I noticed on your website you are an oxygen advantage practitioner, and it said functional and energetic breathing. What is that? I haven't heard of that before.
Yeah, to put it without all the fancy language, a lot of it relates to nasal breathing.
Right.
There's a couple of sort of key parameters, although people can still breathe too much. Have you done a bit of Wim Hof breathing?
I have done a bit of Wim Hof, yes.
So when you're Wim Hof breathing, you're hyperventilating, right?
Yep.
So when you hyperventilate, do you know what happens with your oxygen levels?
Please tell us.
Well, you know that dizzy, lightheaded feeling?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you're hypoxic. Your oxygen's going down. Now, Wim Hof talks about getting oxygen into the body. So the science behind that is called the Bohr effect. And the Bohr effect is the relationship between oxygen and hemoglobin in the blood. Basically, when we hyperventilate the hemoglobin, the red blood cells, the affinity for oxygen increases. So whilst we've got oxygen in our body, it's not unloading where we need it. And then we're getting that vasoconstriction of the cerebral arteries. So our blood vessels are constricting. So it's dangerous to do Wim Hof breathing while you're driving a car or to go into water afterwards, because there's a very small chance of passing out. So yeah, you actually go quite hypoxic. It's quite blissful, and when you intentionally hyperventilate, it's very different to me mouth breathing at night, where I'm unconsciously hyperventilating, and that's for a longer period of time. So it's, again, choosing and understanding stresses that are deliberate and stresses that are happening for longer periods of time.
Yeah. So is it more sort of teaching people that awareness
Well,
around
that's the breathing retraining that we were sort of talking about at the start.
Okay.
So educating the way people breathe 24/7. So people are generally breathing too quickly and too much. And so by slowing them down and getting them to breathe a little bit less, both of these things are supported by nasal breathing.
Is this your main offering? Like, is this what you're really focusing on and pushing for your clients at the moment?
Yeah, it's funny, Steve. It's a little bit all over the place, my work. I still do a little bit of personal training, and I like to give people what they need, really. So when they come in, I get to talk to them, I get to assess them, I get to find out what's going on in their life. And if they're good breathers, I don't necessarily need to give them more breathing, right? They might have poor mobility, they might have a horrible diet, they might be up watching porn all night. There's a whole range of things in society that people don't really understand that's affecting their health. So yeah, I sort of go for the low-hanging fruit. A lot of it will show up in the nervous system at some stage. And then, we start to look at the low-hanging fruit and then into health and performance. And it's this non-linear line from people that are down here, where's my camera, struggling with, that are not eating well, they're not sleeping well. And then there's people up here, professional athletes, that have got their diet on point and their sleep on point. So they're doing the same things. They're just trying to at different levels.
Yeah. And you've been doing corporate programs as well. Is that for large audiences, large groups, or how does
again, it's all
work?
over the place. So I've worked with CEOs of the biggest companies in Australia, and professional athletes, and then I work with the really interesting girl with I probably shouldn't talk too much about her disorder, but it was quite fascinating. And she'd been in therapy for 15 or 16 years. She'd been speaking to a psychologist. And from what I understand, that's a considerable amount of money. In 2 sessions, we were able to make significant improvement. Now, not everyone gets those results, but it is wild that it hasn't been picked up by anyone. And she's seen a lot of people in the last 15 or 16 years and spent a lot of money on it. So every now and then I get, these results where it's just been missed by a lot of people. So that's, but yeah, it's becoming more in vogue, certainly becoming fashionable. It's, people like Wim Hof and Huberman, and there's a general interest in science and health and wellness in the public, and it's really increasing. It's really exciting to be somewhat a part of it, sort of trying to educate people. And my work's all over the place.
So if someone was interested in exploring this more, and they think, actually, I do breathe through my mouth. Like, I still remember my first yoga class where I suddenly realized that I kind of breathe the wrong way. My tummy goes in and out,
Exactly.
And it was like, Oh my goodness. How long's it been like that? Like I had no idea. If someone's interested in actually starting to step into some of this, is there something that like a habit or a routine or something that would be quite pivotal to help them sort of just start taking those steps towards making some of these changes to sort of get on top of things a little bit more and sort of really support their stress levels and their nervous system?
Yeah, I've got a couple of free videos on YouTube. I'll have to sort of flick them through so you
Amazing.
can add. But as you mentioned, diaphragmatic breathing is a really nice place to start. I like to get people lying down because it takes gravity out of the spine.
Okay.
A lot of people have got this sort of poor posture. And so diaphragmatic breathing stimulates the relaxation response, or that rest and digest response. People that are mouth breathing tend to get a little bit shoulder and neck. So there can be some upper back or lower back pain. And it can be alleviated by a little bit of nasal diaphragmatic breathing. So yeah, I'll flick that video through for you guys to share with people. And again, we want to assess people and see if it works for them.
Yeah.
It's like everyone doesn't need mouth tape. If you're breathing through your nose at night, you don't necessarily need mouth tape. So it's giving people what they need.
And you've got a couple of courses, online courses, haven't you?
Courses online. I work with people on Zoom, and I try and set them up for success in as little as 2 sessions.
Yeah.
Give people the resources to go through it. It's just more efficient sort of sitting down with people, going through all the bits and pieces in a couple of sessions, as opposed to the online courses. It doesn't quite cover all their questions as well as they could. But yeah, there is online courses as well.
Just for a starting point, if someone wanted to dip their toe in, you've got something available at that point.
Yeah, I've got something available. The book you read, Breath, the New Science of the Lost Art by James Nestor, is brilliant. That brought a lot of people into breathing. It's a really enjoyable read. And he delves into the many benefits of nasal breathing and the other things that breath does to our body.
Yeah, that's excellent, mate. And what's your next passion project? What are you going to be moving on to next, do you think, for your evolution?
I'm just, it's all nervous system regulation to me. Part of what I'm doing now, I believe if someone come to my course, they're less likely to get stuck in a rip or drown in a rip, get in trouble at the beach. So it's very much connected to, being a lifeguard and supporting public health and safety. So, I'm working with a wellness tech company on a device. There's a couple of bits and pieces. Unfortunately, spending more time on the laptop than I used to, but it's all part of it. Hoping to free myself up to get a little bit more surfing down the track if I can get everything organised and working smoothly. But there's a couple of exciting things.
Yeah, and on the food front, this is where I struggle a little bit, and I'd love to hear what you do with your kids, because I eat slightly differently than what my kids do. Like they still like a little bit of tomato sauce on their meat pie or something like that, and I don't need a meat pie and I don't need tomato sauce. So how's things work in your house? Have you got some leniency for the kids, or are you?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can make your own tomato sauce. There's some really nice tomato sauce recipes with garlic, fresh tomatoes, olive oil, and ginger, I believe. And even if you have to put a little bit of sweetener in there, it's teaching kids about food and also there's some organic options as well that have less sugar. So yeah, there's this scale where we're always maybe trying to do a little bit better or educate the kids about it. So I've got the kids cooking and a little bit, and they're just interested. It's funny, they actually pick up much more than I realised.
Absolutely.
Without you sort of drilling it into them.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can make it fun, the kids will actually maybe gravitate towards it naturally. And you can sort of how do I say it nicely? Manipulate them with some sort of reward for trying different things, or maybe sacrificing is a nice way to educate kids about hard work. Because certainly in life, we all have to make some sacrifices and do some hard work, and the rewards are there at the end, right?
Absolutely. And Catherine, did you have any more questions about the courses that Dean's offering on his website?
I think they're fascinating. I'm particularly interested in stress management. I always find that a really fascinating topic, and helping people to really understand that daily stress that they've got there, that's kind of there under the hood, that they're not even aware of, that's sort of sitting there and just kind of driving a lot of decision making and thought patterns. And I do find that side of it really fascinating. And I know you sort of do a lot of work with people around that sort of stress management. And I guess a lot of it's awareness, isn't it, really? Like people actually becoming aware that that's what's going on, and that's what's driving a lot of how their body's coping, what their health is like. Back to what you were saying with the medical industry. Sometimes I think we're so busy trying to band-aid all of these issues that are going on in our bodies without actually looking under the hood and saying, well, what are the stresses that are actually causing our bodies to feel like that, and to put ourselves in those kind of stress responses. So, I think the work that you're doing is fantastic, and it's just such a layered approach.
The other big one people struggle with is sleep. A lot of people struggling with stress and sleep. It's huge.
And they so interlink. Like you said, if you're not sleeping well and you're not breathing well, then it's very hard to get any kind of clarity in your life and even think straight. Then you don't even want to eat well, because it's like you're just eating to sustain yourself. It's such a negative cycle that you can get into so easily and quickly, and we don't even realize it. Yeah, fascinating. I love the work you're doing. I think it's sensational.
Well, thanks, guys.
Well, mate, I'd like to say big thanks for jumping on and sharing your journey with us. It's been fantastic to hear more about what you're up to and how you're helping people.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's always nice to chat about it. The community's growing, and there's so much. People sort of have to go through sort of some struggles to find, maybe sometimes lose their health before really wanting to find it, so they value it. I think there's a little bit of that happening in society, and certainly don't want to discourage people from going to the doctor if they're sick. If you are looking to get healthy, maybe the doctor's not the choice. There's naturopaths and health coaches and a whole range of people that may be able to help you look for health as opposed to the medical system.
Yeah, absolutely. And just because you mentioned it before, some of the corporate programs and their employee assistant programs and their practitioners or their GPs, I've heard that they're actually referring people to go do yoga, meditation and wellness practices now. It seems like there's a little bit of a shift. I don't know that there is much, but it seems like there is a little bit of a shift towards, hey, if you're stressed because of work, whatever it is, or PTSD or whatever, there is acknowledgement that there are other ways to deal with stress other than tablets, which I think was just the common treatment in the past. It's just, this is how we fix it in the medical industry. It's a drug. It's easy. You take it. That'll help bring your nervous system back in line. But that's what I've heard. I don't know if you've heard much of that, of GPs referring to wellness practices, but definitely on mine.
Yeah, I think there's more and more interest in it, and I think there's actually less faith in the medical system than ever. A lot of people I meet are sort of, because I guess they know my position with it all, and the last couple of years in particular, people lost a lot of faith in medical systems, so they're looking towards websites and different sources of information, and they're sort of more keen to try stuff. It's fascinating, and this can be good and bad. It's fascinating. But there are some doctors and there's a lot of fantastic science about breathwork and cold therapy. They're talking about doing some research on psilocybin.
What's that?
Psilocybin. So they're like the magic mushrooms.
Oh, right.
There's surf therapy programs, which they run down at Bondi Beach. There's like so many options now, which are less pharmacological or pharmaceutical options or pharmaceutical based. But it's exciting.
And before you go, mate, sorry, we were talking the other day, and you told me that at night time you don't like to have your phone in the bedroom whatsoever, let alone on airplane mode or something like that. Are there any other nighttime routines other than mouth taping, keeping the phone out of the room? Is there anything else that you use that works well for you that people may not be aware of, the different ways to improve your sleep and things like that?
Yeah, I think there was a nice simple one I heard, like the sort of 3-2-1, like try and eat 3 hours before bed, try and sort of switch off all your work 2 hours before bed, and then 1 hour before bed. It's sort of turning that phone off. But yeah, again, just trying to do your best, because some people, they like to watch a show of Netflix, but to wind down at night. And so it's really just consciously just watch one. Just don't watch 2 or 3 episodes.
Don't binge.
10:30.
Yeah.
If you want, just if you are gonna do one show, do one show. Try and eat early. Try and get organised, and maybe even try and watch it a little bit earlier so you can get to bed. Going to bed early is an absolute game changer for people that can do it, and people. There's different sleep phenotypes, but some people really do well sort of getting up early and winning the day. I know you're one of them, Steve.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely. And then I pass out nice and early at night too. So that's my nighttime routine. Get up early.
I turn the Wi-Fi off as well. I just sort of flick the switch.
Yeah.
So if the kids try and jump back on it, they can't.
Same.
So yeah, the Wi-Fi is a nice one, and then the phone on airplane mode in the lounge room.
Very good. Well, mate, I'll let you go, but again, thank you. It's been great to chat, and hopefully we'll get you back on when you're moving on to that next project and hear more about what you're up to.
Thanks, guys. Always a couple of projects in the works in the health and wellness world. Everyone's a little bit of a multitasker.
Always looking for something better. 1%.
Love it. Thank you.
All right, thanks.